Hello, Paul Homchick here in San Francisco. Been texting with Paul this morning. Ed Worley down in SoCal. Cheers. Andy Armstrong. Hello, Andy. In Hampton, Virginia. I sailed in the Sunfish North Americans in Hampton on the beach many years ago. We got a great show today. As you can see from the show notes there at the top of the show, Julia's with us as well. As we're just coming up on a minute after 1 o'clock here in San Francisco. As usual, we are in Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. And we want to welcome all of you, including Ken Saban in Toledo, Clayton Embley, Joe Holtzman, Gordon Smith in Denmark, Guy Briere down, don't call me Guy Briere from dreary Pensacola. He's down there chasing American Magic. We're going to have a nice segment from Guy, don't call me Guy Briere, on Tuesday. Ted Ryman's in Cape Town as we are going to get this one well and truly off the dock. Welcome. Happy Good Friday, if you're celebrating that and Easter weekend. Delighted to have you with us here in Studio B. As always, Julia is here again today.
Yes, and I'm sorry to see that Alistair Murray is flat on his back with COVID again.
He is? With the bloody COVID?
With the bloody COVID.
Oh my goodness, Alistair. We've got the A4 on here today. Got Alistair's from last weekend at the Melbourne Grand Prix, where he caught up with Skippy Lissam, and that's going to be fun. Clark Chapin's in Plymouth, Michigan. John Lamberts Van Buren, as usual, from Holland, saying good evening from Holland. Stingray up in Seattle, and a bunch of others. Welcome to all of you. We're delighted to have you here. As I probably have already said, of course, I'm your host, Tom Eman. We've got the window open again, Julia.
Yes.
Here. In fact, I can even now zoom in on that window. And it's, it's nice. Why not? Why not leave it open and go to the backyard and have a look at it?
Right.
Bit of breeze, as you can see. Not a lot.
That's cool.
Looking out. I guess that's good. Natural light. I don't know how our lighting is on our camera. You look great. And you got your purple on today. Your royal purple, or your bloody phone is on, Julia. Turn your phone off. And I've got my pink on because it is Easter weekend, and we'll carry on here one way or another. When we get all the buttons, we barely got on the air on time today, but it's always fun trying. As I said, those of you who are celebrating a happy and blessed Easter weekend, Good Friday today, and at least it is Good Friday afternoon here. Down under, of course, it's Saturday. I wasn't going to put this in, but I'm going to carry on anyway. A lot of you have called. Paul Homchick and I were texting early this morning. This has made world news, and San Francisco's got plenty of problems, not the least of which is the crime wave here. We've had a stabbing of a well-known guy called Bob Lee. I didn't know him. Julia, did you know him?
Nope.
And I had frankly never even heard of him, but he was a tech exec of considerable repute who apparently, and I don't know the whole story because he was out at 2 a.m. They say in a nice part of town, but who knows. But he got stabbed to death, sadly, and it's made news all over the world. And I didn't really want to dwell on it except to say we didn't know him and to thank all of you. I've had a nickel for every comment, question, and so on about this guy's tragic death. Julia, we could buy everybody on here a dinner at, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration,
Yeah.
but sad news. And we do have a crime problem here, as we do in a lot of the big cities here in the States, and hopefully it is being dealt with. One can only hope. But Julie, before we leave the, go back to, before we leave this, well, that shot looks dark, but it'll be fine. If the camera's catching up, takes a little. It is Easter weekend.
Oh, yes.
Happy Easter.
Happy.
Lint chocolate.
Yes, you beat me.
Golden bunnies. And I thought rather than us having a cocktail today, we ought to probably have golden bunnies from Lindt chocolate.
Perfect.
Is it German?
Yep.
It's now. Did
It's
you know
Swiss.
is it Swiss or German?
I think it's Swiss.
I don't know. Somebody on here. It's milk chocolate. I couldn't find dark chocolate. Dark chocolate's a lot better for you. But I thought it was a proper celebration.
Made in Germany.
Yeah, it is German chocolate. I remember living there. So Swiss Ted Ryman says, classy move, Tom. I don't know how classy that was. But dark and stormy in Austin, Texas, J. Frederick Bland is saying. But back, Julia, to our chocolate bunnies. I got these the other day. We're going to have, by the way, I think you're going to come down for Easter brunch on Sunday. That's the plan. The Warriors, our big basketball game final, our basketball team final game of the season.
Wow.
And they're right on the cusp of being in the
Good.
playoffs or the play-ins. I'm going to eat some of this. I hope you all have some chocolate. Now, did you know which country invented the Easter Bunny? Was it the States? Was it Britain? Was it France? Or was it Germany?
Well.
Or was it Switzerland?
Yeah, I vote for Switzerland.
It's Germany. Germany invented, and there was some guy in the Pennsylvania Dutch country who knew about the Easter Bunny from Germany from his
and lived next door to Hershey's chocolate.
No, it was his own deal. In fact, it was the guy who who also started the one of the cough throat lozenges.
Oh, yeah?
You know, and the best part of the bunny is what?
The ears.
Now,
good.
this is hollow. Excuse me for talking my bloody mouthful. The Easter hare, Gordon Smith is saying. Good. Now, prior to World War II, at least in this country, the bunnies were routinely solid chocolate. During World War II, to conserve sugar and whatever else, they started going hollow and have been largely hollow since. I mean, you can still buy solid chocolate, right?
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Danish, it's paskaharen. Peskaharen, Gordon Smith is saying. Eat the ears first, Holtzman is, yes, of course. Eat the ears first.
Yeah.
I love Easter. We always prepared Easter baskets. My family did. My wife does. Meg. And also, we'd always have a chocolate bunny. And then we'd always, in the Christmas basket, we always had Christmas basket. Oh, look at Julia. That's good. We'd always have some kind of a chocolate Santa Claus or something in the basket. Okay, enough of all that. I'm going to nibble that. Instead of cocktailing, we know what happens when we cocktail during the show. That's not such a good idea. But we will carry on here with the show and get to Palma. And before we get to John Emmett's superb report, another one, I thought we'd play some world sailing videos, a couple of them, catching you all up to date on the 52nd Trofeo Princess Sofia. Iberostar Hotels and Resorts are the sponsor of what we would call the OCR, the Olympic Classes Regatta, and one of the largest and most important regattas leading up to the 2024 Olympics in Main Olympics, Julia, are in. We've got chocolate in your mouth. I should leave you alone for a second. They're in Paris, and the sailing, of course, is in Marseille. And a lot of countries, as John has reminded us, are using this regatta for their Olympic trials, or in a large part of their Olympic trials. Popcorn jelly beans. Julie Ahrens says it's sunny in Cleveland. I'm wishing everyone a happy holiday weekend. Yes. Julie Ahrens, I don't know if you're celebrating Easter or not. Slow news day, hey, Tom? No, actually, we got a lot of stuff. In fact, I left stuff out of the show because we got so much stuff in here. Julie, I promised you an AGM of the Beach Street Yacht Club, but we got too much stuff going on to put it, so we can do that down the road when we have a less newsy day. Now, I got to get you to lean back to the left, your left, toward the control room doors there. There you go. I have a constant battle with Julie to get her. There you go. Perfect. Straight up and down in her chair. Nicely done. Okay, so let's go back to Palma. And first, this video, just before it went to air, released by World Sailing, setting us all up on the eve of what is tomorrow, Saturday, the medal races, the final races in the Olympic classes.
Day 5 of the Princess Sophia Trophy, and two sailors have wrapped up the gold medal with a race to spare. Great Britain's Mickey Beckett has successfully defended his ILCA 7 title from 2022 after a solid final day of gold fleet racing.
I've just won with, before the medal races are tomorrow, and I managed to win with the medal races today, which I've never done before. I've never even comprehended doing this. The last 2 days have just, something worked. Can't quite believe it. I'm really happy.
Marit Bouwmeester was absent from last year's event as she was just a few weeks away from giving birth to her first child. Now the Dutch 3-time Olympic medalist is back, and today's victory, with a race to spare, proves that motherhood is no impediment to Bouwmeester's drive for excellence.
Today I won the World Cup here in Palma, and it's actually great. I had a fantastic start of the season by winning the Europeans and also winning this event before the medal race, and yeah, it's nice to be back.
Aside from the Mickey and Marit show, 8 other events reach their climax this Saturday on the Bay of Palma.
I'm caught with chocolate in my mouth. I've done more than the years now. Milk chocolate, sugar is so good. I don't eat sugar. Well, not much. Yeah. Okay, I think it's a nice video setting the scene for tomorrow's medal races. You like that? You like the name of this regatta, the Princesa Sofia.
Yeah, it just sounds elegant.
It is indeed. A lot of comments flooding in on this holiday weekend from many of you. Warren Chaucer in Brisbane in Australia saying, Happy Easter to the Fozy, Friends of Sailing Illustrated. Good luck to all boats and crews in the Brisbane, the Gladstone yacht race. Yep. Hopefully they didn't get smashed by the storm last night. James Frederick Bland, we're going to call him Boomer, Julia.
Oh, yeah.
Boomer is saying, flood the port ballast tanks to adjust J-Dub's trim.
I think that's the final answer.
Boomer Bland, the Submariner. Submariner. They don't like Submariner. They call them Submariner. Now, he was in the U.S. Navy, went to the Naval Academy. The guy's top-notch.
Yeah.
We have another video. Now, this is really cool, featuring an old friend of mine, a long time friend, Mitch Booth, and his kids, who are also in Palma racing. So we got some Aussie flavor here now.
You have to enjoy it. You have to eat it, breathe it, sleep it. If you're not enjoying it, there's no future in it.
So I'm Rita Booth. I'm sailing with my brother, and we've been sailing together for quite a while, actually.
I think we're a good team together.
These are my parents. My dad coaches us when he can. There's so many medals he's won. I don't know if I'd be capable of telling you all the medals. Won a bronze medal in the Olympics and a silver medal. A lot of world championships also. So.
You know, they grew up in a house where I was, on the road a lot of the time. They'd come to some of the regattas. I remember bringing them here to Palma when they were just starting to walk. I never pushed them into the sport in any way. It was, there's boats in the garage, there's boats at the club. If you want to go for a sail, go for it. I tried to give them the opportunity to sail at a high level. You try to just express some of those lessons to make the road a bit easier, avoid some of the mistakes that I made along the way, and took each one of them to crew for me at one big regatta. Of course, these guys loved it, and there was a competition between all 3 of them who could win the World Championship at the youngest age, and they all won a World Championship at 15. And they joined a team and then went and won the NACRA 15 Worlds. So that was a good indication that they were enjoying it enough to do it well, and to be really good at it. If you're not enjoying it, there's no future in it.
I think it's very complete. It's good learning for everything in life, I think.
It's good to do it as a family.
Stingray saying, Mitch B is so amazing. Love that guy, as I think most of us do who've known him since way back. I mean, the guy's just obviously a great guy, a great family guy, and for his kids to be succeeding so well in the sport.
And enjoying it. It's
the key to life, right, Julia?
Right.
It's the only reason we do this show is because we enjoy it so much.
Exactly.
Yeah, seriously. And the Fozy.
Yeah.
And all the comments.
Yes.
Very nice story. Ed Worley agrees down in SoCal. Thanks, Ed. Let's get to John's report, the Coach's Corner, with John Emmett, who is also in Palma.
I'd like to be in.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Lovely to see you. Although I'm not going to see you on the show tonight because it's the Sailors' Party. Well, it is for at least 95% of people because tomorrow is the medal race. And that's what I was going to talk to you about. Now, a lot of regattas, they will have racing for everybody in the final day, but obviously the medal race is just the top 10. And it's one of these things which actually might not decide the medal. It's still possible with a really consistent series, and this may happen in the Ilka 6 class or other classes where there's such a points difference that you don't need to sail the medal race. And when that happens, it's actually in the sailing instructions that you do need to sail the medal race. I'm here, by the way, just on the little beach where the RSX used to launch. It seems to be right on the flight path, but that's hard to avoid in Palma. Good thing I'm not going to get run over by any cyclist. Cycling path is just there, and that's my normal daily cycle. Though there is a small chance of me being hit by a football by some small boys playing on the beach. But anyway, back to the medal race. We used to have the RSXs here. The IQ foil was actually launched from the same beach as us, which is the other side, because of the depth of their foils. But the medal races are really interesting. They're close to shore, and that means it's much more spectator friendly. I mean, if you look at Weymouth, we were very lucky with the wind direction in 2012. Huge number of people could watch really close, and the wind direction was fortunately not coming straight off the highland, so it was good quality racing. But this is something that I guess was introduced for media, but normally in my mind, rather than a winner takes all race, for example, you get an equitable result, and it means people have to be good at sailing under pressure. It's also a very different style of racing, and it's something which is quite hard to replicate. So we've done a lot of medal race practice when you have a sailor who potentially makes the medal race, because it's something that's a different skill to what you practice all the time. So that short course, 10 boats, all of which are quick, by definition just have made the medal race, is much different to sailing in a larger fleet. And the way you handle the risk reward is different too, because you don't have so much time to recover from a poor start, the amount of leverage which is available on the course, this sort of thing. And actually it's often just difficult racing, because whatever the wind direction, close to shore can be a lot more complicated. But yeah, really looking forward to the medal race, but I won't be joining you on the show because I'm going to pretend I'm still a sailor and go party. So please enjoy, and comments are always more than welcome.
Okay, I thought we should take up that topic, and we will in a moment. We've discussed it before on here. Are the medal races correct or crutonic? And so get your thoughts in order if they're not already. But thanks, John, for another terrific report. He did several other videos, and tomorrow he will do more that will air on Tuesday's show. But this next one is with Tom Saunders from New Zealand. And Tom has finished second in the Ilka Sevens. And you maybe saw in the lower third during John's video, I put a lower third on. He has just this week, at the last minute, the Shanghai Ilka 6 and 7 sailors hired him. So he's got a big job all of a sudden, not only producing these videos, but coaching all the Shanghai sailors.
Yeah.
And there's several of them. So bravo Zulu to John. That's great news. And we'll see if that continues through the Olympics or not, because he had, his former mentee was the Romanian lady, who's whatever her funding, something happened to her funding. But now John has interviewed Tom Saunders, who is currently in second. I don't know if he's got that a lock or not, but the winner has already secured without sailing. Well, he has to sail in the medal race, as you just heard John say.
Right, which is good.
But the Brit, Mickey Beckett, has already won the gold medal without having to win or do anything significant other than finish in the medal race tomorrow. So we're going to talk about whether the medal races are in fact correct or crutonic. But first, this interview, John, with Tom Saunders.
Day 5 of the Princess Sophia Trophy. Very happy to be talking to Tom Saunders, New Zealand. It's been a pretty tough competition. First of all, tell us about your day.
It was a bit of a battle. Struggled to get off the start line today, so I was just trying to make gains of where I could throughout the race. Managed to bank a couple of good ones, I think. So, but not really where I want to be, battling in the back. But it'd be nice to get some good starts for tomorrow, actually.
And can you tell us a little bit about tomorrow? I must admit the medal race, it's really there for the media boys as much as anyone else.
Yeah, it is good for the media, good for the fans if we have some. But no, it's good fun. It throws another element into it, double points, and just 10 racing. So it's a different style of racing.
And you have to count it.
And yeah, you got to count it. So it's all to play for tomorrow. Yeah.
And the campaign so far, because you guys are probably some of the furthest people away from Europe, but it's so good to see you regularly do the circuit.
Yeah, it's a long way from home. I've spent a lot of time in Europe the last couple of years. This year will be a bit more pinpointed about coming back and forth and utilising my time wisely.
And what does your programme look like? Because actually New Zealand as a whole, there's a few people up there.
Yeah, we've got a good squad. George and myself, obviously, are the front runners, but we've got a couple of young guys coming through and Luke Deegan as well. So it's a good squad training at home. And we go to Aussie a bit with the Aussies as well. So
which is another good squad.
They're always got a good squad, so it works well when we're so far from the rest of the world that we do have good training partners. So it makes a big difference.
Well, I think your hard work is obviously very much rewarded. So what's next? I assume you do Will you have some home time after that?
Yep, here next, and then go home, and then come back for hopefully the pre-Olympics and the World Champs.
So that's Marseille and The Hague, two very different venues. Have you had much time there yet?
Spent a lot of time in Marseille the last couple of years. Was in The Hague for a couple of weeks last year, which was a pretty tricky venue, but looking forward to it.
I always say it's the same for everyone, but perhaps that's not very helpful.
It is the same for everyone, so you got to deal with what you get.
Well, wishing you lots of luck tomorrow, and I just think the standard is getting higher and higher, and it's always great to talk to you guys.
Thanks very much.
That was a little abrupt at the end. That was my fault, not John's. John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. We appreciate John's regular reportage, as I know do all of you, and he likes to say...
Like, follow, and share.
Exactly. Like, follow, and share, and do it now, if you would, please. Clark Chapin will remind us, and we will carry on. Please share to your own Facebook and YouTube pages, and then we'll get to correct or Crutonic and ask the question again about these medal races, because as you could hear them discussing it, John said, well, they're sort of for the media. And frankly, if you have medal races and somebody's already won, which happens too frequently, frankly, Russell's idea has always been just go ahead and have a winner take, as you know, with Sail GP here in San Francisco. First weekend in May, in a few weeks, they're going to have a winner take all for $1 million for the whole season.
Yeah.
One race. Last year it was light and shifterly, and it was a kind of a crappy race. But you know what? The same guy, Tom Slingsby, who you would have expected would win, did win. But I ask you again, are the medal races correct or Crutonic? You know who this is? I mentioned him at the top of the show.
Yep.
That is Michael, a.k.a. Mickey Bennett. Mickey Beckett, sorry, not Bennett, Beckett. And you can see there, maybe a clue in the upper right in the PIP there, GBR, the British sailing team. He has already won without racing. Well, he has to race because the rules require it. Otherwise, he gets disqualified, DSQ. But Mickey Beckett has won his second Princess Sophia Olympic classes regatta. So bravo Zulu to him. But and another, I can't remember who it was, but somebody else has also already won their discipline, their division, without having to race competitively tomorrow. They do have to go out and they have to finish. Otherwise, they get DSQ, as I mentioned. Is this correct or Crutonic? Is this the best way to run the sport? John made the argument that there are interesting things. You do have to learn how to race short courses. I mean, it's largely all about the start. Everybody of the final 10 boats. Okay, you know what we did? They race and race and race. Well, however big the fleet, they get down to a gold fleet. They race and race. And then the top 10 boats advance to a one-race medal race on the final day. And it's to get media coverage. It's to get television out there. And the racing's quite different because there's only 10 boats on the line. And there, as John said, if you are 10th from the pin in a big fleet, you're probably down toward the pin end of the starting line, the left or port end or the leeward end of the line, as we call it. If you're 10th from the pin end in the medal race, you're probably at the committee boat. You're at the starboard end because there's only 10 boats on the line. And it is a sprint, not even a middle distance race like most of these other races are. And there's really, if you have a bad start or if you don't hit the first shift on the first leg, you're probably not going to be in the hunt. So what do you think? They've been doing this now, I say they, World Sailing, ISAP before that, for some years now.
How many years have they been doing
Oh, gosh.
I mean, like
3 Olympics? Three Olympics, something like that.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it. Let's see what people say here. Fabian Haraldson, why not have a best of 3 medal race if contested by 3 yachts? It's even better. Yeah, for the podium. That arguably would be more interesting. Maybe, maybe not. I think they want to have more countries in it. But that's the other downside. You go to a regatta, you want to race the whole regatta. You don't want to just have to quit after, the main part of the body, and then you can't race on the final day. I don't know. There's pros and cons. What do other people say? Alex Kent, we did that in Big Boat a few years ago in the Express 37s. That is the Rolex Big Boat series here. Killed it into first place with a huge point lead. Could have skunked the last race and still won first. Yeah, that's the problem. Clark Chapin, the Croutonicism of the medal race is well illustrated by requiring the leader, good point, Clark, to sail the last race. A one race medal race for the top 3 boats would be better. I agree. I think Russell Coutts is right in that respect. John Lamberts van Buren, Klage, meaning Dutch Merit Bouwmeester, also has the gold in her pocket before today's, meaning Saturday's, medal races. Ridiculous Croutonic. Julie Ahrens agrees with most of you. It is silly. Let us go racing, David James says. I know. Again, I would rather, Julia, I'd rather have all the races count. Have a longer series, have all the races count. Like, we've always had a throw out in Olympic sailing since the 50s, I think. But if you have all the races count, and you can, the whole regatta is interesting, because if you pooch the last race and it counts whether you got a throw out or not, they'll count. They're talking about what is Hempel, which was on Tom Saunders. You saw it on his penny, on his pullover. I know Hempel is a paint manufacturer. I think Hempel in Germany is also, it's a conglomerate that makes all sorts of stuff, including dish powder and clothing. What do you call the powder that you put in your washing machine? Wash powder. Must be the chocolate. If I get chocolate on my face, would somebody please tell me? Because I am nibbling this thing. It
is good.
And Julie Ahrens is right. The milk chocolate is bad for you. It's just sugar.
I know, but it tastes so good.
Well, I like dark chocolate. And I don't know if anybody else has got a comment on all this before. Ted Ryman, it seems silly, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, okay, but it is broke, I think. Clark Chapin saying, Stingray, he's agreeing, Clark's agreeing with Stingray. It's all for Croutonic promotional reasons, nothing to do with who sailed the regatta best. Yes, what Stingray said, Clark is agreeing. Steve Gruber, look at how the other Olympic racing events are. First, you qualify for the final, then it is 10 competitors, winner, take all. Again, I agree, Steve Gruber. If we're going to go to that, a medal race, have a medal race where all the marbles are on the table. Is that a mixed metaphor?
Yes, but.
About what?
Yeah.
Our dear friend Alistair Murray, who's under the weather with COVID yet again, I would be happy with a winner-take-all final race with top 10, but only if it was an hour-long race to reduce. Yes. Don't have it a sprint where that starts the whole thing, Alistair.
Yeah,
I think if we let the Fozy run the sailing world, we'd be way ahead. We'd be way better off.
We could tell everybody how to do it.
Fabian Haraldson, who's got another comment I want to get to in a moment. My personal opinion is the Sail GP events are way too short. Yeah, I agree. I think their races are a little too short too, Fabian. But Russell's trying to fit a lot of races into a 2-hour TV window, and you'll see he's a bright boy. He'll make some adjustments. Okay, what else? There's comments are pouring in here. Bill Wingrove, changing formats to please TV is ruining many sports. Good point, Bill. It's all the chips on the table, not all the marbles on the table. Thanks, Steve Gruber. John Lamberts van Buren in the Netherlands, the mandatory medal race, when you're far enough ahead, regardless, potentially opens the door to use the opportunity to mess up potential future opponents. Indeed, true. Munch, munch, I don't eat sugar, munch. Soap chips, okay. Soap chips. Okay, well, I think we've, again, covered that in the past, but you got to keep covering these things or else we forget. And we got to put some pressure on world sailing. Golf does it right. The scores keep accumulating. Stingray's saying.
Over the entire.
Yeah, but everybody
tournament.
plays.
Yeah.
Right? But everybody plays. You
Right.
don't kick out the last, the bottom people going into the last day. Everybody's still playing. And if you want TV coverage and you go to a live race and your country has nobody in that final 10 race,
Yeah.
and they're not really in the hunt for anything,
Yeah.
then your country's not going to watch it.
Yeah.
I'd rather have 20 or
How
25
would
countries in there watching it with and I'd rather have the races all counting. So if you're running first going into that race, I mean, maybe make the last race a non-throwout race.
Mm-hmm.
That gives it, rather than doubling it, making it double points, just make it a non-throwout race. So whatever you do in that race counts.
Yeah.
That would, that might wake a few people up. Okay, we've killed this one, haven't we? I want to go back to a couple other comments. So Hempel. Fabian Haraldson. Hi, nice to see you on, Fabian. There will be on another topic, will be quite a fleet of 12 meters in the Med this year with quite a few from the Baltic fleet joining down in the Med. Maybe it's been mentioned in earlier shows. No, it has not. And we shall cover that, especially Fabian, if you'll give us a report. Assuming you're there, maybe Julia, we can get Fabian to give us a report.
That'd be good.
Just do the John Emmett or the Alistair Murray, Gordon Smith type video for us. We love it. And others of you have done the same. Who is CLB_RHS?
I saw that before too.
Welcome.
And I can't.
It's up above where I am in the comments here on the screen, but welcome to you, sir or ma'am, madame. And I see Jeff Waller's on World on Water. Morning, Tom and Julia from Sydney, where it's only, well, now it is in Sydney, it is 6:32. And apologies, I don't have my Pewaukee clock in there yet, but I'm not sure I can get a Pewaukee clock from this website where this thing clicks along. It's kind of a nice clock.
But isn't that a Chicago?
Yeah, the whole point of putting,
Pewaukee.
Bill Goggins is saying put Pewaukee on there because that's where Harkin is located,
Right.
and we call it Peeville is what Peter Harkin calls Pewaukee, and what a fabulous Lake Pewaukee, a great sailing country in Wisconsin. Graham Sweeney, the Brits have been watching other countries' teams in the finals for years.
But
Bill Wingrove. Sorry, go ahead, Julia.
no, but they've been doing well.
Well, for sure. TFE and Julia are going to be on sugar highs for this one. I think sugar highs are better than alcohol croutonuses, in which we were in the past. Fabian is saying, I'm on the 12-meter Northern Light. There's a classic. And would love to say hello to any fellow foes. Well, give us John Lambert's Van Buren. Vim, US 15, will spend the next 2 seasons in the Med. Same for KZ7. Well, give us a video, guys, that we can play on the show. It doesn't, I can edit it, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's more to get your friendly face in. And as you'll see with Alistair later in the show, when he does his latest A4, and Skip Lissaman, famously good. He's AOM. He's, the Order of Australia, Order of Merit, I think that is, Australian Order of Merit. But he was on the Australia 2 crew when they won the 83 America's Cup. Longtime friend, good guy. Okay, thank you for bearing with us on all that and your opinions. Much appreciated. Now, here is a segment. When I got here into the studio this morning at Dark 30 to finish preparing the show, I had no idea I was even going to cover this. But the pictures and the video and some other things that were coming were so compelling, and we really haven't covered this before. I thought it was well worth it, and I hope you agree after you see this on the race. Julia, I think I tipped you off.
Right.
But others will perhaps recognize this photo. And if you don't, here's another clue. That, of course, being the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club. And this is their Rolex China Sea Race. It has not been run since 2018 because of COVID. It's normally a biennial, every other year race. So the next one would be scheduled in 2025, but they got it off in good form, 18 boats from 3 different countries. And we've got the report for you, thanks to the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club. It's they call it the 61st anniversary. It's not actually the 61st race because it has been biennial, to say nothing of a couple hits and misses over the years. But it started on Wednesday the 5th, a couple days ago. And like most of these super offshore races, they're 600 milers, give or take. This one's a little under 600 nautical miles. And here is a video with not too much voice in it, but to give you a flavor for what is going on prior to the start of the race, which frankly looks like a hell of a lot of fun. Somebody more knowledgeable than I will tell you about this dragon. You know, this is to send everybody off, the dock send off, but it's to give everybody good luck and also a safe passage, because this race is from Hong Kong to, do you know where? Subic Bay in the Philippines.
I didn't know that.
I told our Beach Street Yacht Club bartender this morning, I sent him a couple images. I said, who's Filipino? I said, you should be racing in this. You should. He said, no way. It's 600 miles in the open ocean. I said, come on, man. It's light air, usually.
Except when it isn't.
Well, except when it isn't. But you should do this. But look at it. Just looks like so much fun in a corner of the world that some of you have sailed, some of you have lived there. David James, among others. I love that club, the Royal Hong Kong. They have one of the best cigar bars in the world.
I miss the cigar bar.
You do? You smoke cigars?
No. They wouldn't let me in anyway.
Well, they might now. There's a lady Commodore at the Royal Hong Kong now. We're going to feature her in a minute. I think it's typical Rolex, well done, great video. It's a Rolex video. A little longer than we're used to playing for this kind of a vid, but it's just people having fun in our sport in a, as I said, in a corner of the world we don't normally get much ink about or from.
Yes.
Started Wednesday, and the lead boat is almost to Subic Bay. We'll show you that in a moment. It's a good yellow brick tracker. There's the Royal Hong Kong. What is that? Victoria Harbor. David James will remember. There's the yacht club in the background. That's interesting. The boats are from 3 different national authorities. Remember, MNAs. China, Hong Kong, not countries. We can't call it a country, but MNAs. China, Hong Kong, and Philippines. In fact, the lead boat is from the Philippines. These guys won it a couple times before. Steve Gruber doesn't like the music. Yeah, okay. To each his own.
It's bumpy.
Okay. You like that music better?
Yeah.
Pretty light and shifterly there at the start, as it often is. And in the last 12 hours, the northeasterly monsoonal winds have filled in as the fleet closes in on the Philippines. I think people from Europe and the States, the Aussies and the Kiwis are a little more knowledgeable, I suppose, about what goes on in Asia, but there's a fair bit of racing in this part of the world, and good racing.
Yes.
To boot. So that's the video. And you would say after 5 long, I mean, we got some photos too now, courtesy of Hong Kong, Royal Hong Kong. After 5 long years of absence, Rolex's China Sea Race made a triumphant return to the city of Hong Kong. A lot of PR too, English language PR. Now on to the 61st anniversary of the Offshore Classic, first held in '62. The Rolex China Sea Race Hong Kong is now the oldest blue water race in Asia. In partnership with the Royal Hong Kong, this year sees 19, actually 18 started, 1 dropped out. 19 boats originally tackling the 565 nautical mile, which is a little over 1,000 Ks, from Hong Kong to Subic Bay in the Philippines. And that was shortly after the start on Wednesday, the 5th. Nice images. The history, I won't read this whole thing, but On the 7th of April, 62, 3 yachts from the Royal Hong Kong and 1 from Manila and 1 more from Japan crossed the starting line for the first China Sea Race. The yachts were escorted over the first 100 miles of their 600-mile journey by 2 minesweepers of the Hong Kong Royal Naval Reserve. Skipping to the last paragraph, the China Sea Race was subsequently held as a biennial event in 64 to track the 12 entries, 66, 13, and so on. Stormvogel, the famous catch, raced. With each successive race, the event has grown. In 68, it was included for the first time in the newly organized World Ocean Racing Championships. And in 7, I'm not so sure that's been a great success, but it's on and off. We'll get Andrew McIrvin to update us on that. And in 72, it was officially recognized by the RORC, by the Royal Ocean Racing Club. Now, you know whose boat that is, Julia? That is the race record holder, and of course the multi-hull record holder. Since then, it has continued to attract interest, and an undisputed Asian Blue Water Classic has served to draw the attention of the international yachting fraternity to Hong Kong and Southeast Asia. In 2016, the Reichel Pew 66 Alive broke the 66-year-old race record by just under 16-year-old. Thank you. 16-year-old race record by just under 12 minutes, finishing in 47 hours, 31 minutes and change. In the 2018 edition, Carl Kwok, our Fozy, Carl Kwok, broke the race and multi-hull, no surprise, record on his Mod 70 boat Jest with an elapsed time of 38 hours, 30 minutes, by almost 10 hours in 2018. Our Fozy, Carl Kwok, holds that, set and holds the record. Well, it hasn't been run since 2018. A couple other photos I thought you might enjoy. You see now, look at here. You see this? They don't have the Chinese flag on. We got to show you the politics behind these. This is the Hong Kong logo, so to speak. So Chinese boats, they got the PRC flag. Hong Kong are using this. These boats are from the National Authority of Hong Kong, and then there are some Filipino boats as well. For this 2023, there are actually 18 boats that started from these 3 MNAs, China, Hong Kong, and the Philippines. They got a couple boats from the Philippines.
That's nice.
So it is nice. Nice photos. Danielle Forster, a couple other photogs have sent in the credits at the back of the show. But nice stuff, including this J109, which is doing well.
Whiskey Jack, we've seen before.
Yep, Whiskey Jack. And this is a lot more fun was the headline today when the Northeast monsoon filled in, because it was pretty light going. They're, at least the leader, Standard Insurance Centennial 5, is way out ahead and closing in on Subic Bay. Pretty much a straight shot. The people that went way to the left of the rum line seemed to make out, or at least early on. And the course, as I mentioned earlier, is 565, just shy of 600 nautical miles, a little more than 1,000 kilometers. Hong Kong to Subic Bay in the Philippines. This is the leader. This is Standard Insurance Centennial 5, who was the first boat to sail west of the rum line. Hasn't seemed to suffer one bit. On Friday morning, she was already into the next trough of northeasterly breeze. It's Saturday morning there now, of course. And near the Philippines, and moving along nicely at 10 knots, a far cry from a few of the others situated over 150 nautical miles behind, going less than 1 nautical mile per hour. So that's as of Hong Kong time, 1600 hours, and it's what now in Hong Kong? It is more or less 3:45 in the morning, right? Saturday morning. Do I have that right? Those of you in down under in Asia. So they're way ahead, looking good. Nice boat, nice team, and the guy who owns it is a guy called Ernesto. I don't know how to pronounce his name in Spanish or in Ernesto Echaus. It's a Reichel Pew 75 from the Philippines. Look at that crew. I mean, you'd want one of those crew uniforms, Julie.
Absolutely.
I'd go sail just for the crew uniform, right? This is the gentleman who owns the boat. He is a 9-time veteran of the race.
Wow. And
2-time winner.
Good for him.
So bravo, Zulu. If it's Centennial 5, why is there a 3 in the logo? I don't know. And maybe the PR from the regatta was not correct, but that's Fog Machine asking that question. But, I mean, you got to, again, credit Rolex. They get themselves spread out, as one of you saying up here, around the world. Steve Gruber replying to, yeah, please don't get me wrong. I love Rolex and everything they have and are continue to do for our sport. Yeah, I'm still kind of cool. Jay Frederick Bland is saying it's still kind of cool, Hong Kong in March compared to summer. Hong Kong and Austin climate are, oh, I didn't know that. It's similar. James Bland must have spent some time there because he has a current valid master and engineer's license from Hong Kong. Fog Machine saying Bravo Zulu to Rolex, and indeed. Bravo Zulu to Ernesto and his team. Two-time winner. Looks like he's about to become a third-time winner. And circling back to where we started from, I want to give credit to the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club. And I don't know if this is their first Lady Commodore on the left, but that is Lucy Sutro. And her race chairman, Cameron Ferguson, who gave a press conference at the start of earlier this week. Lucy Commodore Sutro, the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club, mentioned in her welcome speech that for several decades, Rolex has cultivated close associations with the best-known yacht clubs and organizers of major events in the world of sailing, commenting, quote, "We are honored that this race was the first Asian sailing event sponsored by Rolex and proud that with their support over the past 15 years, the race continues to arouse attention." Nice word. Arouse attention within the international yachting fraternity. And as I said a minute ago, gets quite a lot of coverage in obviously the Chinese, but also the English language press in Hong Kong.
Yes, it's first class.
I think we should go there, Julia, cover this race in person.
I think that's a great idea.
Or I've got if David Witt, whose boat dropped out at the last minute, they had an engine problem or something, so that was the 19th boat that was dropped out, making only 18. But Bravo Zulu all involved, and I'm glad we covered that. I hope you all are too. I hope you are, Julia.
I am.
Good. I never know. You come down here, you might be grumpy with me for covering something.
I'd tell you if I were grumpy. I'd tell you.
You would? Well, have some more chocolate. You won't be grumpy. Let's wrap up the leg 3 of the ocean race. They're, of course, all in, as you know, in Itajaí in Brazil on the east coast of South America. The leg 3 winner was, of course, 11th Hour Racing. Stories of resolve and resilience. It's the headline as 11th Hour Racing Team and Biotherm finally. They shouldn't say finally. They did finish in Itajaí a couple days behind the 2 boats that match raced to the finish. 11th Hour Racing claims third place, leaving Biotherm in 4th on arrival in Itajaí. And I think Biotherm, with some damage to their boat already, they decided to cool things. They knew they weren't going to overtake 11th Hour. Here's 11th Hour coming in a couple days ago.
Yeah, the welcome is such a great time after a race like that, and everybody's best friend with everybody there.
Well, their families too.
Yeah.
No, it's great. And did you like that music better?
Yes, but I wasn't complaining about the first one.
We had drum music now in the last 2 videos. There was that drum music in the dock out video at Royal Hong Kong, and
it gives it a real heartbeat.
Heartbeat, that's right. 11th Hour only took third by 20 nautical miles. It was very close for a 35-day race. Good point, Fog Machine. Thank you for that. Now, I just add this comment that came in from Tip and Shaft. Again, this Friday newsletter that comes out, terrific newsletter. And they did a long analysis with 4 or 5 experts, offshore names most of you would recognize. And this was I think the penultimate or the concluding paragraph of this long analysis in today's newsletter. It's free, by the way. You can go to tipandshaft.com. Behind these arithmetical aspects, they're talking about the standings and what counts for how many points going forward. Everyone agrees that the ocean race has cleared the first big hurdle, bringing an entire fleet, well, not quite, but 4 of the 5 boats back to the Atlantic. For this first race in the IMOCA, in the IMOCA period. True to its marketing, the race showcased the resilience of the crews.
That's
Quote,
true.
certain damages out there could not have been fixed solo. But above all, the crews obviously enjoyed themselves. This human side is the most beautiful surprise. And I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
And they had a 10-minute video I was going to play, but it was too long. I'll play it. You can go see it on their website. This human side is the most beautiful surprise. I just think that's wonderful.
Yes.
Says Johan Selén, who's one of the co-owners of the race, and the Swedish guy, about this stage, which made some sailors envious, if we believe Thomas Ruyant. His quote, when I watched the videos, I wanted to be out there with them. I'm very attached to solo racing, but I do not exclude the idea of the next one. Interesting. They showed that the format works, and even if it is a bit early, meaning for the IMOCAs, just now we will look at it. So I thought that was interesting, Julia, to see that Thomas Ruyant is saying that. Maybe some of the other IMOCA single and double-handers will take that up.
Yep.
Okay, so I won't quite say Bravo Zulu to 11th Hour Racing. There's some commentary about here's somebody that this team has poured a lot of money and a lot of effort into this race and are struggling. Snake bit with some problems. But they have not done as well as Charlie Enright and his team had hoped. Team Wholesome PRB in the lead, as you all know, with 19 total points, 5-5, and then they scored a 4 and a 5, winning the scoring gate on leg 3 and then taking second on at the final finish of leg 3. Team Militia coming on a little bit, and they're on 14 points, 11th Hour on 13, and Biotherm down on 10. Of course, Geo Environment that broke in the early stage of that race went back to Cape Town, fixed their delaminated hull, hopefully. I mean, they did get to and then sailed their boat, right?
They should get a medal for persistence.
Well, good point. But, this is not about persistence. This is about how you do. We're not giving out participation trophies here, Julia. You don't approve of participation trophies. You do?
I don't. But I have to recognize what they went through.
Well, do you approve of the chocolate?
I do. Unfortunately, I think it's wonderful.
Well, I know that Julie Ahrens does not approve. She does not approve of milk chocolate. She says the dark chocolate is much better for you. We all know that.
Yep.
But this does lift one's spirits.
It does.
Huh?
Yes.
Even if it's milk chocolate. And she's, of course, celebrating Passover, which was started on
and she
Wednesday, right?
Talked about matzah.
The matzah.
And it's a great time to have a matzo ball soup.
Well, especially look at how it is outdoors. It's overcast here and a bit gloomy, not particularly sunny, but it's okay. I like having the studio windows open. I know Stingray likes that too. Isn't the whole fleet back in the Atlantic? Steve Gruber say, yeah, the whole fleet is back in the Atlantic, and they're all in Itajaí. Whatever you want to call the race, Whitbread, VO, this is Steve Gruber, Whitbread, the Volvo Ocean Race, the Ocean Race, arrivals are always awesome. Yeah, Julie agrees with you, Steve. We all agree. Good points. And that, again, is the standings. Now, one thing I learned today, I didn't realize this. The race is now up to Newport, Rhode Island. And I hope a lot of you who are at least here in North America, at least in the States, can get there and go see Brad Reed and Co. They always do a terrific stopover. They're at Fort Adams. You can visit the boats. There's a lot of good action and activity. Of course, Newport is still in many respects. I know you in Annapolis don't necessarily agree. Some people in San Francisco or San Diego don't agree, but in fact, some people in New Orleans and the Gulf Coast wouldn't agree.
Right.
But it is, Newport is probably the spiritual heart of yacht racing in this country. And that makes for an even better stopover for whatever you want to call this, the ocean race or otherwise. But then the leg from Newport over to to Aarhus, I think is the next stop, counts for double points.
Why?
I don't, just because they wanted to give a double point across the North Atlantic so that people were, I guess.
Pay attention.
Well, no, I guess to help if people are back in the pack.
Yeah.
They can still have a shot.
Oh, well, that's all right.
So that's why. Now, before we leave this, I want to thank again Clark Chapin, who gave us 3 charts, and I'm running just the one because it's I think the most interesting and relevant. But he has sussed out with great precision the average speed and I guess Clark, he's on here. Tell me, this is the average speed of all 4 boats, Clark? Or is it just the winner? I think it's all 4 boats, but I'm not 100% sure. Saying, and there's the dotted line, from Cape Town to Itajaí, an astonishing 15.66 knots average across the board. I think that's all 4 boats, right, Clark? Clark's on here, or was. Julie Aarons is saying, thanks again. Absolutely, matzah is hard to digest. Soup is not. It's a whole week for Passover. Lots of red wine. Okay, it is just the leader. Clark is saying, no, the VMC, average VMC is for just the leader, so the other boat's slightly below that. But I think a lot of you have said this, an astonishing close race nonetheless, and thanks,
Yes.
Clark Chapin, for your charts.
Absolutely, I think that's brilliant.
Very good. Very good. Do you know, Julie, what happened on this day in history? In
Yes.
1853, 2 years after AC0,
Mhm.
after the first America's Cup. And here this is really, in fact, it is so arcane, it's so obscure, I thought I would give you 2 clues.
Okay.
Both Her Majesty the Queen Victoria, and the physician and father of modern epidemiology, Jon Snow. I thought Jon Snow was a character in a recent Netflix television series.
Mhm.
You know what happened on this day? The physician and father of modern epidemiology. Thank you, Julia.
Which plague was going on at that time?
No plagues, except the America's Cup started out to be a plague on the British, I think. Steve Gruber, I love both Annapolis and Newport. The difference, sorry, Naptown, meaning Annapolis, is that Newport and the bay and the ocean. You just have to turn left or right and get what you desire. Yeah, it's a bit in your Chesapeake, and it's a bit light there, but Annapolis, a fabulous town, is Boomer. J. Frederick Bland will tell you, having spent, I guess, 4 years there at least. Fog Machine asks, did they find stuff in the water? Did Queen, speaking of Boomer, he's saying, did Queen Victoria, you can read that comment, Julia,
Yeah.
and use your finger.
Uh-oh.
Huh?
Queen Victoria.
Hold it, I got to change your, I got to put you in the comments. There you go.
Queen Victoria did not announce the fact that
she got the clap.
I promise you, she did not.
Okay, well, Clark is tracing the typhoid epidemic to the common water pump in London. No cholera, no. I told you this was obscure. Anybody else? And it's pretty significant stuff. Cholera, chloroform. Either Ted Ryman is really smart, which he is, we know that.
Yeah.
Or he's got really quick fingers and he Googled. But here's what happened. Ted Ryman, bing. I need a bell, Julia. I need like a hotel bell here. Instead of using these bloody, we could give some applause or something Teutonic. But we need just a little hotel bell that we can hit. Bing,
that
ding,
kind of
ding.
bell.
Yeah, kind of a hotel bell. But
We can arrange that.
Ted Ryman's got it. Queen Victoria asks Jon Snow to administer chloroform during the delivery of her 8th child, Leopold. And it leads to wider acceptance of obstetrical anesthesia.
Good for her.
Good for her, yeah.
And good for him.
I remember when my wife, when Leslie had Meg, she said, okay, we went to all those Lamaze classes. I mean, we went and did the breathing, and I sat there and helped.
Yeah.
We did all that stuff. And then the time comes, we go into the hospital in San Diego, and we get there, and after about the 3rd contraction, she said,
change my mind.
give me the drugs. Give me the drugs. She got the drugs and then was in labor for 24 hours.
Oh, ouch.
That was just part of the problem with that. But
yeah.
Chloroform has nothing to do with epidemiology. The clue threw us off, Clark Chapin is saying. Surely there must be a Ding Sing app. There probably is, but it'd be nicer to have a live bell, I think. Childbirth Illustrated, Gordon Smith is saying.
You never know.
Well, of course, this is sailor related because of Queen Victoria and the cup, right? Yeah. Well, that's what happened on this day in history, 7th of April, 1853.
Yeah.
The BS stops when the flag drops. Thanks, Boomer. Boomer. Okay, let's get to the Cup. Now, there's a lot of Cup news, but frankly, most of it's not earth-shaking. So I'm giving it a rather short shrift today. We're an hour into the show. If you're just joining us wherever you are around the world, 1400 here on Good Friday afternoon in San Francisco. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your being here very much. As always, not just the Fozy, but any of the newcomers or those of you who are lurking. If you put a comment in, tell us where you're from if you're new, and we're delighted to have you here, right, Julia?
Absolutely.
AC37 Cup Date, and I use this as the tease, as the cover. I love this photo.
Yeah.
Because Sir Jim visited Sir Ben this week in Palma to witness a sensational training. This, according to their INEOS Britannia website and PR machine, witness a sensational training session as Ben Ainsley and Giles Scott pushed T6 to the limit, hitting mid-30 knots upwind and well into the 40-knot barrier. 40-knot barrier? I never heard of a 40-knot barrier. 50-knot barrier, maybe. 40-knot barrier downwind with the innovative W foil really performing to its potential. Yeah, well, maybe. Meanwhile, as you'll see in a moment from a headline from the esteemed Richard Gladwell, Kiwis apparently have been going over 50 knots in all the breeze they're sailing in down there repeatedly, regularly. So what else? Here's some more news from the Brits, and this guy is a cool guy. Bravo Zulu to the team, and James Skulzuk, I hope I pronounced that right, who has joined INEOS Britannia. Bravo Zulu.
It's great to have James join the team. He brings a wealth of experience from both his fin sailing and his Cape 31. It's great to have another fin sailor join the squad. James has also been racking up a lot of miles on the bike, so to have both great power output as well as sailing experience is certainly something that we find invaluable. It's been great to have James out here in Palma, watching him fit in with the rest of the squad, and I'm certainly looking forward to racing with him next year.
Uh-oh, you got to talk, Julie, because once again, my mouth is full.
I was thinking that hanging out in Palma is not bad duty, and especially this time of year, it's sort of mid-temp. And
well done. Well, you saved me. Thank you. It'll be interesting to see which of these strategies, whether I think Alinghi's strategy of getting to Barcelona was good, being in Palma with the bike riding, a beautiful Palma. I mean, Palma's really, really nice year-round.
Yes.
The Kiwis in their hometown, they got to now move in a couple months. We'll see.
Yes.
Clark Chabin is saying general anesthetics are rarely used in childbirth these days because they tend to depress the baby. Yes. And when I was talking about my wife Leslie and Meg, it was not a general. It was a epidural. Went into the spine and gave the lower tract, the lower half of the body, a little bit of relief. No, it was not a general. Sean Hogan. Hello, Sean. Welcome. Terrific sailor. Racing in Tasmania at the Hansa Liberty Nationals. Discharged from hospital the day before the first race. Lying in third after 2 races. Sailing is such strong medicine.
Wow.
Well, good to hear that. Good to hear that you're doing well. And Ted Ryman saying they're on Barcelona time in Cape Town. Okay, that's good to know. Knots, what is that in kilometers per hour? You know, I was noticing, we're going to see a report from Alistair, who did his A4 from the Melbourne Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And I was watching that on TV the other day on our, Saturday night, I guess it was. Saturday afternoon, evening. And they, because of their American audience, I guess, are listing speeds both in KP, kilometers per hour. Now, they always just did kilometers per hour when I was involved in Formula One. And now they're doing it also in miles per hour because they're trying to deal, I guess, with a growing American audience, or what they hope is a growing American audience.
Yes.
But I don't see why Sail GP doesn't do the same thing. Do it in knots, which all sailors understand and know.
Right.
Most. And then if you got to do it in KPH, you do it in KPH too. It gives you a little comparison. I don't know why they don't do that. I'm going to suggest that to Russell when he is here.
Yes.
Yes, I didn't like W that much to name a foil after him, Steve Gruber. W meaning George W. Bush. His dad was George H.W. Bush. The America's Cup, where autopilots or computers sail the boats. Yeah, Ed Worley, I think we're all a little concerned about that and where this is going. The Finn Mafia rules the world, James. Land, of course, Boomer, you're right. Did you note that Boris Herman has left Militia for the next leg to Newport? No, I didn't. But he has left. And we'll cover more of that. It's kind of evergreen news, and we'll cover more of that on Tuesday. And also, there's going to be 3 women on one of the boats, an onboard reporter and 2 racing women. So yeah, I saw those crew changes. Clark, thank you. We'll get into that when they give us some video to talk about the ETNZ Stingray saying relaunching the version 2 of Te Rehutai. There, I don't want Julie Aarons to get mad at me. Te Rehutai. It's one level. Te Rehutai was a great move, and that boat is looking fast. I agree, Stingray. I've changed my estimations of the relative strengths of the Defender and the Challengers based on what we are seeing coming out of New Zealand. Jeff Kitson. Hi, Jeff. I've got 2 T-shirts with the saying, I like cycling, I like sailing, and maybe 3 people. So I guess America's Cup brings them together. Alistair Murray talking to Sean Hogan, a fellow Aussie. Go Sean Hogan in the Liberty class and Taz. A great mate of mine. Remember my AAAA interview? Yes, we do. Alistair, thank you indeed. Forget about miles per hour. Sailors speak in knots. Agreed, Julie. Julie, you know, the more Julie comments on here, the more I agree with her.
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
Smart lady that she is. Replying to, and I almost, after the show, when I don't eat till after the show, as you know, I have your mics down there on there you go, push that up there. There you go. And when I have my tuna and cottage cheese after every show.
Right.
A couple tomatoes and a little avocado. And I always take a picture of it and I send it to Julie because she hates cottage cheese. Right, Julie? Right? Okay, enough all this.
She may not like tuna and
tuna's wonderful, especially when you got cottage cheese and avocado on it. Well, there's also the English unit of speed furlongs per fortnight. What the F is that, Clark? Come on. Hi, Chris. Actually, Chris is joining you. Mm-hmm. Fabian agrees with Julie Aarons. Yeah, we all agree. Okay, nice video from INEOS Britannia. They do turn out good stuff, and there's some more pictures now coming from New York Yacht Club's new boat that's been christened. It was commissioned at the beginning of, I guess we can say christened. It is Easter weekend.
I guess so.
Their AC40. I'm not sure. I could have almost done a corrector Crutonic on this. They have named the boat America. Their AC40 America. The new Yacht America, after obviously the original America's Cup winner. And some nice pictures from Pensacola. And I think Bill Wingrove is down there. Is it Guy Briere? And maybe both of them have been chasing them around. That is American Magic, New York Yacht Club's American Magic, chasing them around in Pensacola Bay, and they got outside the bay in some windy and rough stuff. They've all flipped by now. I think everybody's flipped at least once, maybe more than that. So this was a photo from earlier this week in breezy conditions outside of Pensacola, out in the windy or rougher anyway, waters. And then they issued a pretty nice video. I mean, it's not pretty nice, a nice video. That's almost 5 minutes long about their AC40, which you be the judge. Have a look.
The AC40 is a 40-foot foiling monohull. Every team has one because as part of our entry into the America's Cup, we had to purchase one for America's Cup World Series events, and then also the knock-on initiative of the Youth and Women's America's Cup.
All the departments have shifted over into 40 mode for a little while here to study it, understand what the dynamics are, and we kind of know what the difficult points of getting the big boat around the racetrack are, and this boat allows us to kind of get through those sticky points and learn deeper into some of the kind of more core problems.
The AC40 is going to be a great boat for us for learning, for developing. Even though we've only sailed for a week, we can already see how good the boat is.
It's amazing how Team New Zealand have essentially designed a boat that's so simple and effective. The autopilot system works unbelievably. It makes it very simple to sail.
It's been pretty wild. Like, we went out the first day, left the dock, did the tow testing that's required to just check the systems and everything. We hoisted some sails, checked the geometry of the sails. We cut the tow and sheeted in, and 3 minutes later we were foiling, and the first maneuver was a foiling tack.
It's just been such a joy. Like, imagine driving around a go-kart on a track that you can just envision on your own, and there's no bumpers, there's no real track lines or anything. You're just making it up as you go and can throw an attack or drive wherever you want. And the boat's extremely responsive.
The AC-40 with 4 people on board is 2 helmsmen and 2 trimmers. The windward helmsman is steering the boat. The only real control that they need to do besides steering the boat is putting the board down and pulling the board up. The leeward helmsman is sort of like the flight controller. It's an autopilot on flight control in the AC-40, but there's still a lot of settings involved in getting the boat to foil properly.
The automation of the flight control, it allows us to really push the boat quite hard, especially trying various complex maneuvers.
If you put the bow down and you want to go fast upwind, you can go really fast, but you're also not going to be going as high as the boat next to you. So finding that mode and picking the right mode at the right time is going to be crucial. It's an easy boat to sail, but I think it's going to take a long time for us to get all the settings right and figure out exactly how to sail this boat to its full potential.
We chose to start out at a full-scale model with Patriot and the AC-75, and that puts pressure on the entire operation. The next 12 months for us are going to put a different type of pressure on the operation, but keeps everybody's senses and fully engaged into a race mode mentality.
The AC-75 is a different animal. It's big, powerful, and you get things wrong, it bites you pretty hard.
I hate using this analogy for a boat that's so big and fast and complex, but the AC-75 feels like a bit of a bus. And that's not saying in a bad way, it's a very fast bus. It builds up speed, it takes slower, but once it gets going, it gets on a real rumble, and it's a very fast boat. Obviously, it's probably the fastest boat in the world. On our first day sailing, we were doing very complex maneuvers in the AC-40, and on the AC-75, there's a lot more coordination and timing that goes into that.
All of the changes that we make on board the yacht, affect the platform almost in a faster way, in a more instantaneous way, and so you pay for them quicker. I think that's all really good learning from the sailor's end, and from the design end, they can extrapolate how the 40-footer will relate to the bigger boat using the same data.
Communicating is going to be a massive part of it, especially when racing is involved, because the boat's completely split down the middle, port side and starboard side, and you have no vision across to the other side of the boat.
We've really enjoyed getting the first boat out there, but when we get to get 2 boats, either in a testing configuration where we're testing foils against each other, or we move into a racing scenario where we put the identical foils in and we go head-to-head on a racetrack. And then also we get to use the AC-40 on the World Series events, really going head-to-head as a sailing team and seeing how our sailing skills match up against the other teams.
It's going to be exciting to see when the guys get into racing these things in one design mode at a house, because I think one of the knock-ons of our AC-36 learnings and kind of the mentality of continual improvement was we want to make sure that when we hear that first starting gun on race day that we're ready to go. I'm quite confident though the race in the house is going to be really good.
Now, I don't know about you,
but
I'm confused. I'm a storyteller. I put one of these shows together. We go
Right.
through and try to be coherent, put some slides together and some lower thirds and pull out that make some sense. But they started out on a 40, and I liked the 4. I liked their description of it. I learned a lot about the 40 actually. Then they jumped to the big boat, which is, I agree with Stinger. I think, and others who said I think it's that they started right out with the V2 of that boat and the Kiwis. I think that was smart and good. Then they go back to the 40. And if I'm a non-sailor, if I'm a non-America's Cup person, and I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? Which boats are which and who's doing what and which are going to race when?
Yeah.
So I think their storytelling is suspect, and I'll tell Terry next time. And of course, he's not worrying about this sort of stuff. That's not his role or job. But back though to some of the tuna and avocado. What's wrong with cottage cheese, Julie Aarons? Naming the AC40, Ed Worley is saying up there, is croutonic. I agree, Ed. I wouldn't. I think that is almost blasphemous. I'm really surprised they did that. Maybe the difference is that this America is all in caps. Okay, Clark, now the reason we do that I learned a long time ago when I was at U.S. Sailing in the early 80s. I was told by none other than your good friend, Commodore Harry Anderson.
Yeah, I got to say Harry Anderson, yeah.
And Commodore said, Tom, you put the names of yachts in caps. And this was when we had typewriters, let alone, we barely had word processing machines. But and when you had typewriters, you didn't have italics. You could put them in quotes, but that was reserved for book titles and that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So you put them in caps. In New York Yacht Club and in their yearbooks for years, I won't bore you with it, they put the yacht names. I don't know if you can see. I just pulled a random page out here. You see that rum? Those are all in caps there, along right here. Those are yacht names.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so New York Yacht Club has always done that, and I, being a big fan of the New York Yacht Club, and I just have always done yacht names in caps, and I'll do that forever. And of course we use italics in the lower thirds anyway. If we put our lower thirds in here, they're already in italics. So you'd have to put the yacht name in straight up and down. So that's why they're in caps.
Yeah.
Because that's convention that New York Yacht Club has used, and I buy that, I accept that. And that was at Tom's tangential taking up.
Yeah.
Log Machine, I hope the technical committee is more creative than the naming committee. I agree. Watched this earlier today. Good level of sharing their approach and pretty honest statements from the team. Chris, actually, I agree. But the storytelling was off. I would have somehow said, well, here's AC. Here's the boat we raced last time. It's been all fixed up. Now here are the one design boats the ladies and the kids are going to sail, and we're training in, and yada, yada. It's different. The storytelling was not correct. Stingray saying the rumor is that the next AC40's christening might be MAGA. I don't think so, Stingray. Tomatoes are loaded with lectin and exasperate inflammation. I am arthritic. Okay, we're talking. Julie, tell me what I should eat for lunch, and I will think about it. Why is there so much interest in the AC40? Steve Gruber is asking. I think because the autopilot has clearly become very refined. From what I understand, there is no autopilot. That's true on the 75. The reason there is on these boats is so the kids and the women can sail them and with relative ease, because they're going to hop in those boats, and not for the Youth America's Cup and the Women's America's Cups. And you don't want them having to learn how to, fly an AC-75 style boat, even if it's a 40-footer. I suspect the autopilot could do a lot of teaching as far as how to fly the AC-75. Interesting point.
I think the 40s have looked fast and smooth since they were.
Well, as they said in that video, right out of the box, it was Tommy Burnham, I think, saying, we went out, towed for a little bit.
Yeah.
Took off from the tender, dropped the lines off the tender, and everybody said the same thing. The boats, ETNZ's done obviously a good job designing these one design America's Cup
and the
boats.
bigger they get, the more awkward they seem to get.
Well, as you also heard him say, Tommy Slingsby said it's a little bit like driving a bus. Mm-hmm. Clayton Emily, as soon as I find the flight control on my Hood 40, I may find these boats interesting. Show me a spinnaker. Mm-hmm. T. Hutch is looking a little John Emmetish. Do they need Gillette as a sponsor? Well, if you're out in the sun all day, every day, I think I wouldn't shave either. I only shave on Tuesdays and Fridays as it is. Chris Dewar. Hi, Chris. I stopped through Pensacola on Monday, headed home to South Carolina with the kids from the Opti and Ilka Gulf Coasts. We saw her absolutely ripping around the bay. It was awesome. Slingsby is a massive signing for American Magic, Stingray. I totally agree. Yeah, but is it a match race worthy vessel? Well, we'll see. Replying to Stingray, duh. Okay, a nice video. I'm not sure I like that video. Replying to Steve Greer, simulators will probably take the place of autopilots, Chris Exley saying. ETNZ said their simulator said the 75 better. Well, yeah, Clark's back and forth about Airbus. How many? Wow. I don't know, Fabian, how many ACWS events there will be. I think maybe there will be 2 or maybe 3. I think there's going to be 2. Clark Chapin, this is the comment of the day. What was Clark's comment? It's like I said, their vision for aircraft is a cockpit that only has a single pilot, a dog, and a large computer. The dog's function is to bite the pilot if he touches anything.
Oh, that's good.
People don't like this idea of fly-by-wire of autopilots. I mean, I agree. You could sit on shore and sail the boats now.
Yeah.
Sailing to full potential is most important, but the boat has to keep improving throughout the regatta. The growth quotient often, well, there's no mouthful, often determines the winner. If you are maxed out before the end of the regatta, you lose. That's what happened to the Kiwis in San Francisco and to Prada in Auckland. Okay, good points. Will any of the helms have a live voice and data interface to chat Sail GPT? You know, somebody, Stingray and he sent me some, once or twice, I said, generate something when this was a couple months ago now. I said, generate something for me that I'll use in the show. I'm thinking about doing a chat GPT show where we do this and we respond. We ask people to have somebody put the comments into SailGP, in the chat GP, chat GPT, and let them respond to these comments and see what they come up with. Ask a Q&A. Let the FOSI ask questions and see what the answers come back. The 40s are sleek and fast. Julie Aarons likes the 40s. And wet, Peter Taylor saying. The most interesting thing going on for now is how INEOS is spending time on the W foil. Nobody else is. Yeah, well, it's
what is it? What is a W foil?
The W foil is the foils for the most part are straight across, or there's a little dihedral, a little angle down.
Yeah.
And these, they tried in the last cup, they tried a W foil that looks like what? Like this. Come off the middle.
Oh, yeah.
They come like this, and pretty marked. I mean, you can see it, and they didn't work very well, but maybe they just didn't have them.
The right stuff.
They didn't have them perfected. We'll see. So I agree, Stingray. It's interesting they're trying it, but how much fast? Okay, that was the other interesting. Well, there's a lot of comments. Good dog. But my mind works. I don't think Chat GPT could keep up. Bill is saying that would be a really fun show. Tom Sail Chat GPT. Well, Stingray, you'd have to generate the answers for us and put them in the comments or something. Get you on live via Skype. And you could read them then. But I think that would be fun.
Yeah, would be.
What else? Okay, I think that pretty well does the American Magic story. Now I love this photo. I had it on my Facebook page, and this is not so much about American Magic as you're wondering about this country with all the problems we've got. Is the sun rising or setting on not necessarily the yacht America, but on America, the country? I would never bet against the U.S. I would never bet against your countries, Australia, New Zealand, the U.K., the Low Countries, the Scandinavians, even Germany, France. There are big problems in France. Bloody hell. I'm talking to my French FOSI friends there this morning again. I mean, Paris was on fire last night. Really big problem.
It's so
Stay safe, everybody. Hope you have a blessed Easter weekend. And read Richard Gladwell, because I'm not going to put his caption in, and there's some really cool videos that some of the our FOSI videographers down there, not just Richard, and photos. Team New Zealand has taken, I think, the weekend off. But go read his latest 2 articles, especially this Cup Spy, April 5 to 6. Richard says he'll come back on the show in due course, and we'll do a whole catch-up on the Cup, because, frankly, there's all this spy stuff is distracting. I think is Richard doing his articles, which are, frankly, the most interesting and the most informative. The teams are sending some stuff out, and then ACE, America's Cup 37, is sending this fire hose of stuff out every day, and it's too hard to keep track of all that. Then there's Tom Morse and Mozzie Sales with his videos, which some of them are really good and some of them are way off base, but he's at least doing analysis, and we appreciate it very much. America's rising. If it were setting, sky would be pink or red. The problems are not the citizens. Oh, this is getting a reaction. Ed Worley saying it's the politicians. Yeah, okay. I would never bet against all of our countries from the foes that are on here. Okay, so that's Richard Gladwell. Go have a look. In fact, that title is over a capsize from Malingi in their AC4. Yeah, Richard Julie Aarons is saying really is on top of things, and I agree, Julie, I think. Okay, Bravo Zulu here. Another Bravo Zulu. If you count the one we did to Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club, maybe I better have a coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Before we leave the America's Cup, not the America's Coffee Cup, we have a Bravo Zulu to the class of 2023 AC Hall of Fame, which was announced yesterday or the day before, and by another Fozy, Steve Suchia, who is the chair of the selection committee. Hamish Ross is on that committee, any number of other of our friends. John Barnett, JB, who's won the Cup a number of times, sailing with Dennis, and Ian Murray, and Edith Island. And they will be inducted into the Hall of Fame in September, October, later this year. The members of this year's class hail from very different backgrounds, but they all raced in the America's Cup and contributed to the Cup via another discipline, including photography, boat building, and regatta management. So the America's Cup Hall of Fame Selection Committee Chair from Cincinnati, Ohio, and our Fozy Steve Suchia has been on the show any number of times. We're thrilled to welcome this multi-talented group to the Hall of Fame.
It is nice to have that combination.
It is indeed. Except they're all, well, we got two Americans and one Aussie, our good friend, of course, Ian Murray. JB is a highly accomplished sailor who has crewed on 4 America's Cup yachts and won International Sailing's oldest prize 3 times. What sets him apart from many other sailors is that he achieved this feat in 3 different types of yachts, winning the Cup in a 12, in a deed of gift catamaran, meaning the 88 Cup, and an America's Cup class boat, an IACC boat. So Bravo's, he's also one of the nicest clean kites from up in the Great Lakes area in Minnesota, I think, originally. Cool guy, great sailor. As is Ian Murray, of course, the Aussie. Ian was one of the most diverse and remarkable, has one of the most diverse and remarkable track records in sailing. The Sydney-born polymath is a yacht designer, boat builder, offshore sailor, Olympic competitor, Olympic coach, and multiple 18-foot skiff world champion. Ian's career in the AC is just as varied, entering the sport as a young skipper in the 80s to now serving as one of the most highly regarded regatta directors in the history of the competition. Good. All true and good stuff. And finally, for Edith, Hope Goddard Island was a pioneer in yachting and I didn't know this, I guess I take their word for it, as the first American woman to have raced in the America's Cup. She made history by winning the Cup 3 times as a member of the afterguard aboard Defender in not the 12-meter Defender, but 1895, and Columbia in 1899, and Reliance in 1903.
Good for her.
And look at how she was born in 1868 and lived to 1970. So she was quite something. And they will be inducted into the Hall of Fame at a gala at New York Yacht Club on 44th Street on 17th of October, 2023. And maybe we'll be there. Maybe we'll do a report, as we were there last year in black tie. That's where I think I got COVID. I don't know if it was on the way there or on the way back, or maybe here before. Yeah. Maybe before I got there. I may have gotten it here at St. Francis Yacht Club, but we're all going to get it. Steve Gruber, now there's a stat that matters: boat speed over wind speed. Yeah, that was from Richard Gladwell's articles. 4 times the wind speed. That is pretty cool. And also that in that video, the American Magic video, there was the comment about what Tommy Slingsby saying, these are the fastest yachts. It'll be very interesting to see the competition between SailGP and the America's Cup, the AC-75s, going forward, to see which of the yachts in the next year and a half achieves the fastest certified speed.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yes. And the wind speed is always the...
Well, irrespective of wind speed, we'll just see which boat achieves the highest, boat speed.
Progress made good.
Well, just the boat speed through the water. Of Gordon Smith, see, Peggy the monkey has missed the cut again. Steve Suchia, you promised. Peggy the monkey, yeah. Remember which team that was on? That was way back.
I know, I was one of the first.
Pedro, there was a bloody menagerie on that boat. Pedro lurching and listening in the background. I am making 180 millimeter 7-inch for Yanks stainless steel rudder college flange at the men's shed for my son's 62-foot collar flange. For my son's 62-foot Gulf Star, we'll send you some images later. This this thing next to me, Julia, I can go into a close-up of that.
Yeah.
This thing next to me, and the wood under the desk set here is courtesy of Pedro Foiling Sailor. Peter Stevenson did that for us, and I appreciate that, Peter, very much. You can see it better here in this shot. He did this wood thing. Remember, delivered it here. Had one of his relatives delivered here to San Francisco, and we treasure that as we do the other things from our FOSI, which are here and back here and out in the grill room. Okay, 17th of October, induction gala at New York Yacht Club, 44th Street in Manhattan. Should be a nice affair indeed. We're an hour and 31 into this one, Julia. So we probably ought to think about wrapping it up. The Island family were key members of the syndicates. Yes, they were for many, many years. In fact, there's some Islands still around who are still involved quite actively in New York Yacht Club. I suspect the AC-75 will pass the Sail GP 50s in top speed during the Cup next year. Chris Exley saying bigger, more powerful platform and serious optimization ongoing should prevail. You're probably right, Chris. You're probably right. Now, as promised, AAAA, Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote from our friend who has once again got the bloody COVID. Alistair.
G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the FOSI. Hey, what do they call it when somebody jumps in your photo? Photo bombing. A photo bombing. Yeah, that's Skip Listerman, Australia 2 fame. And we're here for the, here's the noise. The cars going past. So, Tom, Julia, and all the FOSI.
I can't hear him.
Oh, wait. This is AAAA from the Melbourne Grand Prix, and it's a spectacular day here. Tom, Julia, and all the FOSI just checking in. And if I do a little bit of a spin around, you'll see the grandstand in the background, and we'll go all the way off to Melbourne, the city of Melbourne in the background. As Tom says, this is one of the 3 great Grand Prix, the ones that all start with M. But anyway, here I am in Melbourne on an absolutely gorgeous day. Looking forward to a Grand Prix. We've got a young Oscar, the Australian 20-year-old, representing us. He hasn't shown a lot of form. I think he's starting second last off the grid, but we're looking for something spectacular. Something for Sailing Illustrated, Ron Stan, Australian Sailing, something to help us wave the flag and feel good about it. Anyway, we're out of our depth a bit here with motorsport, with sailing being our prime source of knowledge and what we really like to talk about and attend, but here we are at the motor racing, and what a great deal of fun. In actual fact, at my table, I'm a guest of Rolex, and at my table I have Sir Jackie Stewart. So that'll be nice. I haven't met him yet, but I'm going to meet him in about 10 minutes, so that should be great. Look, this is a fantastic day. Skip Listerman just photo bombed at me at the beginning. He was a crew member on Australia 2, you'll remember him well. And I'm here with my wife Tracy as well, and there they are standing over there talking to each other. Anyway, we're looking for a great day. I might try another video a little bit later when there's a little less noise, but just wanted you to know that I'm having a great day and thinking of you all. Bye, guys. See ya.
That's true. He did a great job with that pan around.
Yes.
Where, he did a 360-degree pan.
Right.
And he's obviously holding the camera. He's not doing that on a tripod, I don't think. But nice stuff, Alistair. We appreciate that very much. And seeing Skip Listerman, our longtime friend, it was, as we said, on the crew of Australia 2. Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote. Maybe that's, Julia, maybe that's where he got the bloody COVID again.
Oh, probably.
And Jackie Stewart, what a character he is. You know, Jackie Stewart doesn't drink, and he does those commercials for the European Auto Association, whatever they're called, because you shouldn't be drinking and driving. And what a character he is. To this day, he was great fun to get to know a little bit during my F1 days way back when.
The olden days.
In the olden days. Julia, that gets us to the finish line. Not quite, the last leg, I should say, and our favorite painting. And we will talk now about SailGP's next season. Their final races here in San Francisco coming up here, about a month, 4 weeks. And then the next season gets kicked right off. The headline finalizes, that is SailGP finalizes a record 12 event calendar for season 4, 2023-2024 is the season 4. And SailGP, the world's this is from their press release, obviously, most exciting racing on water, has unveiled its season 4 calendar featuring a mix of already established fan favorite locations, new territories, and some welcome returns to the SailGP host city fold. As a continued sign of the league's rapid growth, the season will comprise 12 events across 4 continents over 13 months. Season 4 will start in June in Chicago, so just a month after the event here in San Francisco, and culminate once again in a spectacular grand final event on San Francisco Bay in July of 2024. It'd be interesting. There's some months that are dark, and they're not necessarily, you would expect them to be dark in December, but some other months that are dark that don't necessarily coincide with the America's Cup or the Olympics. So we'll see how that all goes. Season 4 will have an increased focus on the U.S., with 3 of the country's biggest cities playing host to a Grand Prix and 4 events in total. This includes a new stop in L.A., hosted by the Port of L.A., not Long Beach, but in L.A.
Why did they do that?
I don't know. I don't know. I think there must be. Port of L.A. Has a it's a big port with a lot of bucks, and they do some promotion. They sponsor some collegiate.
Their little club is.
Well, their L.A. Yacht Club is got some problems, but they still are the kind of the starting point for the
Olympics.
No, the Olympics are in Long Beach, but L.A. Yacht Club is kind of the host starting club for the Transpac. But back to this, they are hosting the Port of L.A. They got plenty of bucks, and they are hosting that event. It'll be up in San Pedro, or San Pedro as the Angelinos call it, San Pedro Bay, and the reprise of New York back on the schedule after a year off, which will be one of the largest events of the season with a relocated race course off Governor's Island. That's better, Russell, better than where they ran it last time, where it was just crummy right off of Manhattan Yacht Club and so on. Providing better racing conditions and spectator facilities with a backdrop of Manhattan and the Statue of Liberty.
Yep, makes sense.
So I think that's an improvement for New York. And of course, racing in New York Harbor, we raced there. Last time New York Yacht Club, I think it was, raced in New York Harbor was many years ago. They wanted on some anniversary of their fall regatta, which used to be run in New York Harbor, like most of New York Yacht Club's events. They wanted to race the fall regatta down there. So we went down there in our New York 40, George Carmody and co, in, I guess, October, Columbus Day weekend, maybe, Indigenous Peoples Day weekend.
Yes.
So we had that regatta down there, and there are logs, and there are ferry traffic, and there are tugboats, and there are poop floating by, and there's bodies. It's not a very pleasant place to sail. So they're starting here. If I go to camera 4, why don't we do that? And you can see here that the number 1 event is in Chicago. The number 2 event then goes to LA. The number 3 event to Saint-Tropez. 4 in Toronto and Italy. 5 in Spain. 6 in the UAE, TBC. They haven't decided yet that actual venue, but in the United Arab Emirates. 7 down to Oz. 8 this time to Auckland. They're going to apparently switch back and forth between Christchurch and Auckland. Then 8 brings us back to, where's 9? Bermuda. Then up to Canada. They're going to have a regatta in Canada. And then finally, New York. That's the penultimate, I should say. And then finally, in San Francisco, event 12. And here is all of that distilled down to a, we'll see how many of you like this video, the rapid cutting and the music.
The boat slings me. What a start! Magic trick's not worked today at Spittle. He's sending it hard towards Mark 1. There in New Zealand! Oh my word! Absolutely driving up the edge here.
Okay, well, there is the Sail GP Season 4. No, yeah, Fabian Haraldson, no, there is no Scandi event. And Stingray is saying he's glad that Sail GP's New York race car, I think he was there last time in New York, will be in a better location than the past two events. Yeah, that was not so good. Gordon Smith, I once spent time at a motor race in the UK. My wife asked who the little guy in the terrible trousers talking to a group next to us. That would be Jackie Stewart. And please keep your voice down. Gordon, you're hilarious. Yeah, some other comments. Yeah, there's no event in the UK either, as Ted Ryman and others of you have pointed out. Ed Worley's questioning whether that is the most exciting sailing in our sport. Well, it is exciting. International crowds. Yeah, it's not. The Sail GP in LA, Ed, is not inside the breakwater. Well, it is inside the breakwater in San Pedro Bay, I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure. Show me the money. The problem in New York Harbor, Steve Gruber says, is the current. Yeah, Steve, I think you are right. It's not the only problem, but that's one of the problems. Current, you can deal with the current. You have current in San Francisco Bay, not quite as strong as in Hudson. But you do
Depends
have
on where you are.
It depends where you are. Stingray says that Sail GP is by far the most exciting racing happening for now. All the AC talent is deep into it. Well, the top sailors are. Still 9 teams. Yes, Clark, still 9 teams. I don't know what happened to the 10th team. I thought there were to be 10 teams next year. I'm too old for that pace. I think Julie Aaron's talking about the cutting of that video. At least Steve Gruber says it sounds like the music was created for the video and didn't sound like a loop. True. Sail GP Season 4, which gets us now to the finish line in this nice Bill Wingrove photo from Tampa, from the Davis Island Yacht Club. Thanks again for that photo from the J24 Mids a couple years ago. 3 years ago now. Photo Christopher Howell. And I have but one.
Yes.
One Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, Julia.
Right.
And who else but Jody Shields? And it's clean. Okay. Alcohol is not the answer. Is chocolate? Alcohol is not the answer. It just makes you forget.
Question.
The question. Jody Shields. Didn't see him on today, but thank you for that, Jody. And Julia, you like to say?
Yes. Oh, never miss an opportunity to like, follow, and share.
And comments are welcome too. And replay, and we appreciate all of your support via Patreon. Become a patron, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Don Lunabos, thank you to you. Gordon Smith likes that. It's not the question, it's the answer. It's not the answer, it's the question. Thank you very much to all who gave us video, audio, and images for today's show. And there are a lot of them. A show that's less than an hour and 45 minutes, closing in on 1444 here in San Francisco. Thanks to all of you for your comments. Julia, final thoughts? Not required.
No, I don't. Not really.
I like your framing, though. I like your flags, your nice set of international flags there.
Yes.
Gordon Smith, thanks to you all. Get well soon, Alistair Marie. Indeed. I think we want to echo that. Gordon, thank you very much. Alistair, hope you're better. And we'll probably have another A4 because we had a couple in the can from Alistair that we'll use. on Tuesday's show. Speaking of which, we hope you have a great and blessed, if you celebrate it, Easter weekend. And if you don't,
have a good one
have
anyway.
a good one anyway, and sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. See you Tuesday.